the way the court is taking the issues relating to appointment and conduct of the election, which is not a priority. In fact, today we were hearing cases of matrimonial discord between husband and wife. We were hearing cases while waiting between financial discord between one fraudulent company and the bank. All that is going on, but questions of democracy is not important. That is the message that is going. Did not the court know that it had an urgent meeting in the afternoon? If it was so, then why did it place it at serial number 32? And you are very badly mistaken. This matter will not be taken up tomorrow. It will be taken up only after, and I emphasize this, the whole purpose of today's meeting was to allow the Election Commission to publish the roll on 1st of August.
So you are saying very clearly, Mr. Agarwal, that the court today, the Supreme Court bench, which was hearing the SIR matter, they have again failed to protect the constitution. They have failed to protect the citizens of Bihar. They have failed to protect the democracy.
The problem with this thing is, court is that it does not want to call out the Election Commission on all the egregious violations that it has been committing. You look at, and unfortunately, I don't know how is it a coincidence that it always goes to a bench in which the senior judge is the one who is going to become the Chief Justice. Now there will be a specific direction to accept this as a document. But they will not strike down the special intensive revision. Because they will not strike down the special intensive revision, it will give the discretion to the Election Commission, who in cohort, I'm using the word cohort deliberately, with the overwhelming BLAs of Bhajpa, of so-called volunteers, to sanitize the electoral roll of the voters of the opposition parties, which includes Muslims, Dalits, and the indigent people, so that 5 or 10% of those people are cut away from this thing to enable Bhajpa to steal this election.
Hello and a warm welcome to HW News Network, your one-stop show, truth be told, for some engaging and thought-provoking conversations. All eyes today were on the Supreme Court as to what the Apex Court will say on SIR, that is Special Intensive Revision. But what everyone faced was a big, big disappointment. And why I say disappointment, let's put out the story straight for you. Now, Supreme Court today refused to stop the Election Commission of India from publishing the draft electoral rolls for Bihar on August 1st, as per the schedule notified for the special intensive revision. Now, this bench, the bench which comprised of Justice Suryakant, Justice Joymala Bagchi, did not hold a detailed hearing today, as Justice Kant had to attend an administrative meeting with the CJI in the afternoon. Now, assuring the petitioners that the matter will be heard at the earliest, Justice Kant asked the lawyers to submit the tentative times required for argument tomorrow. So, which means that the argument on this issue will be tomorrow. Now, what did Senior Advocate Gopal Shankar Narayanan, who's a lawyer for the Association for Democratic Reforms, he urged the bench to stop the notification of the draft list, saying that it is going to inconvenience about 4.5 crores of voters. Once the draft list is published, the persons excluded will have to take steps to file objections and seek inclusions. That's what he added. Then similarly, Senior Advocate Rakesh Dwivedi for the Election Commission submitted that it was only a draft list. Then to that, Justice Kant said that it was, after all, a draft list, and said that the court can ultimately strike down the entire process if any illegality was found. Now, this is something which people cannot make out of, whether they will strike the entire process, as what Justice Kant has said. Shankar Narayanan then requested Justice Kant to make an observation for the process will be subject to the outcome of the petition. Then Justice Kant said that such an observation was not necessary as it was understood. Now, during this brief hearing, the petitioners also told the bench that the ECI was violating on the ground the Supreme Court's advice made as per its July 10th order to consider Aadhaar cards, electoral photo identity cards, and ration cards. Now, Dwivedi said that in the counter affidavit, ECI has raised its reservations about these documents. And as far as ration cards are concerned, there are several fake cards issued. So the bench verbally told the ECI to consider at least the statutory documents of Aadhaar and Epic. And thus, and what did Justice Kant say orally? I'm going to quote that there's presumption of correctness with official documents. You proceed with these two documents. You will include these two documents, that is Aadhaar and Epic. Wherever you find forgery, that's on case-to-case basis. Any document on the earth can be forged. This is what Justice Kant orally told the ECI's counsel. Now, the thing is that has the court really disappointed the entire country? Because all the proponents of constitution, all the proponents of democracy were expecting that court will treat this matter urgently and not say that we will argue the case tomorrow. Has it been a big disappointment? And where is this SIR case now headed to? And as Justice Kant said, that if need be, we could strike down the process. What are the possibilities? Are the possibilities remote, or the court could still go ahead and strike the entire process of SIR? Joining me this evening is Arun Agarwal, veteran lawyer and activist, and someone who's very, very closely glued to this entire SIR process. And he has been advising the lawyers who are behind this particular case of SIR. Thank you so much, Mr. Agarwal, for joining. And my first question to you is, how do you think, and has the court really treated this matter of SIR urgently? They should have argued the case. They should have, in fact, aggressively argued the case and could have given some interim relief today.
Good evening, Niluji. I am very disappointed with what the court did today, because it was nothing new. The same thing this very court had done earlier in the case of appointment of Chief Election Commissioner. And there also they requested an urgent hearing before the person was appointed. The court, and I'll give you later on the chronology of how many years that petition has been pending, how Ganesh Kumar has been appointed, and how he is sitting on that chair, whereas that selection process has been pending from as early as, if I'm not mistaken, January of 2024. So the way the court is taking the issues relating to appointment and conduct of the election, which is not a priority. In fact, today we were hearing cases of matrimonial discord between husband and wife. We were hearing cases while waiting between financial discord between one fraudulent company and the bank. All that is going on, but questions of democracy is not important. That is the message that is going. Did not the court know that it had an urgent meeting in the afternoon? If it was so, then why did it place it at serial number 32?
Absolutely.
That his lordship had read the entire petition, because when the matter of Aadhaar came, he was well prepared. He said, no, they have not said this. Now to say that, and you are very badly mistaken, this matter will not be taken up tomorrow. It will be taken up only after, and I emphasize this, the whole purpose of today's meeting was to allow the Election Commission to publish the roll on 1st of August. Which will be...
So you're making an important point. You are saying that in all probabilities, the case will not be heard tomorrow as well.
It will not be heard definitely tomorrow, and it will not be heard before the electoral roll is made public.
Okay, so it will be heard after 1st of August.
This is the same strategy which was adopted by the court at the time of appointment of election commissioner. I'll give you the dates, what happened. This was supposed to be listed in January. It got listed. Then they approached the court. They said, you remind us. Then again they said this appointment is going to be made please hear the matter. The words that was used today also, you are talking about not writing the request of this order, that it is subject to the decision of the court. There also he said no, if they appoint the chief election commissioner, consequences will follow. And then they put the hearing one day after, that was on the 18th for hearing the matter of the appointment of that. After that, it was on 18th, they did not hear it. Then they put it on 16th of April, again they did not hear it. On 14th of May, they put it, again they did not hear it. So is it a coincidence that when it comes to appointment of wrong persons by a wrong procedure, as chief election commissioner, the court does not have time and it allows the appointment? And when the same matter goes and the same thing happens, what are we going to think about it? You see, what is your contradiction? You will realize that you have read what has been said there. It is known that there are number of lawyers, this thing. So what generally happens is the court either says that these matters will not be taken, this is an urgent matter. And to all credit, when Justice Gogoi was there, important matters he would list right at the top. Whether it was, say, Anna DMK and the rival faction claiming a symbol, or it was a case of electoral bonds for which I was there. So that used to be on the top of the list, because you see, public interest, there are two categories of cases. One is a personal dispute, you and me. The other is something which is basic to the constitution, like the democracy being hijacked as has by manipulation of the electoral rolls, which is the allegation against this thing. Now, between the two, which is top priority? Can't the court decide that what is its priority?
What in the verbal observation, what has the court said today on the Aadhaar cards and the Epic cards? They said that accept these documents.
Later, you see, what happened was that then he said, we will not be sitting in the afternoon. He knew very well in the beginning. Normally what happens is that the court, when it commences, or it says, suppose it takes up a matter and there are a number of matters, so it discharges the rest of the cases. They tell the people who are waiting that we are not going to take any other cases. This case will take the whole day. Please, we'll give you a next date or whatever. They do that. Similarly, if they knew in the morning itself that they were not in a position to hear, they should have said that. Or so now when the matter comes up, then they inform that we will not be available. Chaliye, that is all. Now you all decide and tell me by tomorrow. Then I will decide to hear the matter. So, very correctly, Gopal Shankar Narayanan said that if that is the case, he realized that he is going to postpone it after the publication of the draft electoral rolls. So he immediately said that this matter was taken up on 28th deliberately, though the election commission didn't want to do it, so that the matter is a decision is taken before the publication of the draft electoral roll. So he did not agree to that. He said, then give a stay on that till you decide the matter. He said, no, let it be published. Same thing, consequences will follow. We will reverse it. Have you done it? Have you heard the matter? What are we going to presume from what happened in the past with the same election, Gyanesh Kumar Gupta sitting over there? We are into July. How many months has it taken for hearing the matter? From February onwards?
So you are saying very clearly, Mr. Agarwal, that the court today, the Supreme Court bench, which was hearing the SIR matter, they have again failed to protect the constitution. They have failed to protect the citizens of Bihar. They have failed to protect the democracy.
Yes. They should have, first they should decide, because this wrong man appointed through a wrong process, a henchman of Amit Shah, who has been his joint secretary, additional secretary and secretary, has been given a task to introduce the Citizenship Act and ask for the documents through the back door. And that is exactly what he is doing. He has put the entire state and the country and the political process and the right-thinking citizens under great tension. People who love democracy have not slept last night. What will happen in the court tomorrow? And here we are being trifled away with. Democracy is going to be trifled because court doesn't have the time. There are so many times when the court has sat over, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock to decide important matters. Justice Okha used to do it in Bombay. So much so that, Justice Chandrachud did it when he didn't want to be a party to the appointment of a Supreme Court judge. He sabotaged it by hearing the matter that day till 8 o'clock. Now,
But,
look,
Mr. Agarwal,
these
now-
things should not happen. It doesn't look right on form. If he had said today, all right, you apportion the time, I will hear it before first, and I will give an order before that, it
Yes.
would have been understood. Tomorrow, you find that the names are missing. Everybody will go helter-skelter trying to file an appeal. People will not know. The basic issue, one of the issues is that if Aadhaar is valid, then there is no reason for special revision.
No, but what Supreme Court today said on Aadhaar and Epic cards, now will Election Commission, just on a verbal observation of the Supreme Court, will they hear the Supreme Court? Will they hear what Justice Surikant said?
Well, they didn't listen to the Supreme Court earlier.
Yes.
And what Justice Suryakant said was the obvious, that these are statutory papers which are recognized. Does it take a Chief Justice or a judge of the Supreme Court to tell you that statutory papers should be taken into account? Both Epic and Aadhaar, they find a mention in their manual and in the Representation of People's Act. Look at section 23(4). And as far as forgery is concerned, all those who have fled abroad, mostly they do it on a forged passport. On a genuine passport, you can't, because that number is there keyed in, you will get caught. So in order to flee the country, you always have a
Last time also, Supreme Court said that we made suggestions on Aadhaar and ration cards. Now this time they're saying, please use. Now, why is this placketatory language by the Supreme Court used for Election Commission when repeatedly Election Commission is violating everything on the ground?
The problem with this thing is, court is that it does not want to call out the Election Commission on all the egregious violations that it has been committing. You look at, and unfortunately, I don't know how is it a coincidence that it always goes to a bench in which the senior judge is the one who is going to become the Chief Justice. Why is it a coincidence? Let it go to some other judge.
That's an important matter, and I'm sure nobody will talk about
observation that it is a strange coincidence. I'm not saying anything beyond that. People are free to conclude what happens after that. Even in that EVM matter, you hear it at the last moment. Case has been pending from a long time. You don't give any relief. Everything happens. Then you say, look, this is how you should, these are the things you should do to verify. You give the right to the losing candidate, and that is again not complied with, and again you agree with it.
Mr. Agarwal, what is very disturbing is that, the courts don't treat these matters of democracy and constitution with so much of urgency. Why is this happening? This is happening repeatedly.
Yes, and look at the electoral bond. What happened? For 5 years, they didn't hear that matter.
Yes.
And all that money is now being used to bribe the EROs and the BLOs to strike whatever you want and whatever you don't want. You tell me, is this a bribe-free country? You go to Bihar and see it, you can't get any legitimate work without giving money. That is what is happening in Bihar. Even in this case, people have to go to the BLOs and all that and plead that, do it when they have a right. They have been openly caught committing fraud. The court will not take cognizance. They have been completing this task of 97% and all that.
But how much time will the Supreme Court now really take in hearing the arguments and then coming up with a strong direction? Because today is already 28th. 1st of August,
today's proceedings, it will only take place after the draft rule is published. That is the only thing that one can say with certain amount of certitude. And which is a very sad commentary, because the previous judge had kept it on a date prior to the publication in spite of the election commission wanting to do it. See, what they do is they're very clever. First, let us go through the process. So that 1 month they have consumed. Now let us publish the draft rolls. So that will also be published. Like the election commissioner who is sitting over there, his position has been challenged from 2024. When it came to 5 times or 4 times in 2024, it was not heard. Then finally, when it came in December, Justice Khanna recused himself because he had become the Chief Justice. Rightly, he had recused, because if he had heard the matter and had decided that Chief Justice or a neutral person should be the person deciding on should be the third person along with the Prime Minister and the leader of the opposition, then it would be a conflict of interest. Then it went to another future Chief Justice. So, because he was going to be the future Chief Justice, he too should have recused. He knows very well that he is going to be the Chief Justice. So, why are you hearing it when you are one step below the Chief Justice? Shouldn't hear it. You should recuse yourself. But you will neither decide the matter, nor will you recuse yourself and allow this man to commit all types of illegalities and be a party to the rigging of the election, which is the charge of the opposition. It is not my charge. That the sole purpose, first of all, they say ye vote bandi hai. And if you hear yesterday's interview of CPI ML, I'm forgetting his name, leader in Bihar, Dipankar, with Paranjoy Thakurta, he's saying ki vote chori or ye something bandi, we are going to start an agitation. So when that is the allegation and still you are not hearing, then what is the more important things for you to hear? Please tell the country. The country is waiting with abated breath to know. Why did you not hear these cases on time?
It is indeed very, very disappointing and very disheartening also that the court didn't think important to take up this case, to argue, to give their observations. And now we just have 3 days. 1st of August, the electoral roll has to be published, draft roll.
Now the thing is, because 2 things happened. When they asked for a stay, he did not give a stay. They asked that please put it in writing, he did not put it in writing. The same thing had happened earlier when the appointment of Chief Election Commissioner was there. He said it orally, consequences will follow.
No, but isn't the message very loud?
On 17th, the appointment took place. On 18th, the matter was not heard. It was put below.
Mr. Agarwal, isn't the message very loud and clear that Supreme Court does not want to take on the Election Commission in any way? Rather, they will give them an exit window. They will see that Election Commission gets away with the biggest of frauds they are doing.
You see, now what will happen is, I will tell you. I'm predicting it, and this is what will happen. Epic and Aadhaar card, which the previous bench had also said, now there will be a specific direction to accept this as a document. But they will not strike down the special intensive revision. Because they will not strike down the special intensive revision, it will give the discretion to the Election Commission, who in cohort, I'm using the word cohort deliberately, with the overwhelming BLAs of Bhajpa, of so-called volunteers, to sanitize the electoral roll of the voters of the opposition parties, which includes Muslims, Dalits, and the indigent people, so that 5 or 10% of those people are cut away from this thing to enable Bhajpa to steal this election. This is what is going to happen. But they will not the SDR.
Mr. Agarwal, yesterday being a Sunday, we didn't record, but for HW viewers, we also need to revisit all those exposés which were done, whether it was by Ajit Anjum, whether it was by Dainik Bhaskar, whether it was an expose which was done by Reporters Collective yesterday, which very clearly showed that the election commission had taken legal advice from the law ministry, but they did but an RTI file by the Reporters Collective shows it very clearly that there is no record of any kind of correspondence which took place between the election commission and the law ministry. Now, are these evidences not enough for Supreme Court to immediately come to a conclusion, or they will still wait for a long winding process and only to at the end give an exit window to election commission?
No, you see, that fact is not pleaded over there. But it has been apparent to most people, to almost everybody, that election commission does not enjoy the confidence of the opposite party, the opposition. It is quite obvious. In fact, I don't know, last time they were bringing a impeachment motion against Rajiv Kumar, they did not bring it. And they should have brought it, an impeachment motion against Gyanesh Kumar. Whether it fails or succeeds, because they don't have the numbers, they should have brought it to let them know. But successive opposition parties have spoken stridently against this thing going on. Election Commission is not being transparent in its functioning. It is not giving the documents that is being demanded, which are due to them. It has changed the law of the visual video in order to camouflage the ongoing rigging to which it has been a party. It did not give in the RTI, it admitted that it doesn't have that token or everything. Now that they have taken legal advice, that is not on board, it is not pleaded in the petition, it is an event which is happened 1 week back. So all this is not on board over there. But as in another case, I think it was Honorable Justice Suryakant, he said we are not living in ivory towers, we know what is happening outside. He's also knowing what is happening, that the wholesale rigging is going on, or at least there are allegations, and election commission is not being transparent. And he should, at least he would know that one whole state entire was in Band, which has not happened in the last 75 years. Because the Supreme Court does not take a timely decision on the appointment of an election commissioner.
True.
If the judges cannot be appointed by the government, which they are actually appointing in reality, they sat on the appointment of Justice Suryakant when he was to be promoted from the chief judge of the Punjab and Haryana High Court to that of the Chief Justice of Himachal High Court, and notified his name only on the same day when Justice Gogoi took over as Chief Justice. It was a good 10 months.
No, but isn't the situation very, very clear, Mr. Agarwal, that the rampant electoral fraud, just not in Bihar but across the country, which is taking place, and Reporters Collective has shown it that it is happening in cahoots with the Election Commission and the government. This at least yesterday's expose shows that. So is the Supreme Court under pressure, if I may ask you honestly, which is why they are going slow, they are dragging their feet on important issues like electoral fraud?
No, the fact that they are being pressurized or this thing is stated by the judges themselves. Why should I say it? The fact that the government is interfering in the functioning of the Supreme Court is not said by me, it's been said by the rebel judges itself. So when that is there, what is there to see? I mean, look, you say that on record, people will take you on for contempt or whatever. But that does not change the perception that is all around in the country. When a senior lawyer of the Supreme Court comes out and says that after Justice Thakur, all the Chief Justices, he doesn't name the present one, and he excluded to some extent Justice Khanna from it. He says these are people who are there in the court day in, day out. So when they are saying, who are we? We can only draw our conclusion from what happened in the past. What happened in the appointment of the Chief Election Commissioner, which has been pending, I am telling you, for more than 1.5 years. It has been taken on the board at least 7 times, not heard, not decided, is what has happened today. There was no
Very, very
question.
little.
The entire, I'm telling you, if you see the hits, there'll be at least 50,000 people who were watching that thing live. Nobody has any interest in watching a family court divorce between husband and wife, what is happening there to tune in. But when you wait, you have to watch that also. That who wants how much of compensation and this and that, all these things, should be sorted out outside the court or somewhere. This thing, but all these cases are, I don't know, unfortunately coming to the top court, and time is wasted on it. I
So,
mean, there
what
should
is
be a
the
limit.
my final question to you, Mr. Agarwal, is that now what can we expect from the Supreme Court, or there are no expectations left? The SIR will roll out as it is. There will
No,
be a
as
lot of
I told you, SIR will remain. People who have Aadhaar and who have Epic card, they will be allowed to enroll. If you have been left out, if you are there, if you have not migrated, or if you are temporarily not in Bihar or somewhere, but that roll of 2025 January will not be restored. And if that is not restored, Ganesh Kumar Gupta and RSS and BJP had got what they wanted. They will strike out the names of the political opponent in Cahoot. You see, one of the arguments, they say political parties have also cooperated, they have appointed BLA. Have you left them an alternative? When they find that
Collective came up with a list of the BLAs, minimal like 76 BLAs appointed by CPIM, thousands and thousands, more than 60,000 appointed by BJP. Then similarly, RJD is on number 2. That's what Reporters Collective yesterday showed. And they had a big chart, how many BLAs each political party appointed.
No. How can you how can the government associate outsiders in the preparation of voters' roll? And they're saying you can put 50 applications per day. That is one of their instructions that they are allowed to put. The preparation of voter roll has to be an independent exercise by the election commission. So that is why they are compelled to appoint another BLA so that the Bhajpa BLA Panna Pramukh, and that he does not sabotage it, and that they are taking credit. Where does the BLA come in? I can understand when the elections are on, it is all right. This in itself is an unconstitutional step, though in the election manual they say that it is the primary responsibility of the ERO as far as electoral roll is concerned. But then you have the BLO influencing him.
What is the way out then? Supposing if the election commission doesn't stop the SIR process and doesn't declare it as illegal, and you are saying that they will accept the ration cards and Aadhaar cards. So what is the option left with the political parties then? Will they go on an agitation, or will they boycott the polls, as what Tejasvi Yadav said a few days back?
They will do both. They will first go on agitation, which will happen when the electoral roll is published. Then it will come out. You see, like in Simanchal, there is Muslim votes. As some reader rightly pointed out, one of the comments, very enlightened people who watch. You see, in 1920-21, the then law minister, Prasad, he gave a data of how many people who had come from outside in the voter roll. It was found there were only 3 of them, and he gave a year-wise breakup. After that, what has happened is that the per capita income of Bangladesh is twice that of per capita income of Bihar. So if there were no infiltrators in 2021, there is no question of somebody coming from Bangladesh to Bihar as a immigrant. So all that, is on record, but their sole purpose is, so a special sanitization of the electoral roll has taken place in Simanchal area, where there is a majority of Muslim votes, so that they don't vote, and it favors the BJP. That is their true agenda. If this thing is, and the fact remains that it is the BJP which is the only supporter of this new the SIR. The rest are opposing, others are not opposing because they stand to benefit, they are in alliance. So where is the credibility? So
Absolutely.
the primary, this thing should be to strike down SIR and hold that the electoral roll which was finalized after 3 months is the valid this thing, and through that only hold the election. Anything short of that, the election would have been sabotaged.
Absolutely.
That is what
So
I have to
it's
say.
been a very disappointing start to this SIR case today in the Supreme Court. Now, all eyes would be whether to see whether this argument takes place tomorrow or not, and what is the ultimate outcome of the Supreme Court hearing on SIR. Thank you so much, Mr. Agarwal, for joining on HW. Thank you, sir.